Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Ace of Clubs Kid, and I'm coming to you today talking about Apple. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, but now I have kind of some more stuff to talk about, some more things to bring up, and I think it should be a pretty interesting video. I'm going to be trying to do more tech videos like I've mentioned in past videos, and that's kind of where this channel is heading. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into some things about Apple. I want to clarify, this isn't a rant. I'm not going to be just bad-mouthing Apple the whole time, but I am going to be talking about some issues that I think they need to fix in order to get more people to like them again. And I'll kind of talk about that in more detail. But this video is really just about some problems that I think could become bigger and bigger and maybe be the downfall of them as a company. So, with that said, the first thing I want to talk about is the patent war. This was a pretty big thing, and for those of you who may not have known about it, first of all, it was the lawsuit with Samsung, which was a pretty big thing. They sued them for quite a bit of money. It was a really devastating thing for Samsung, but at the same time, I think Apple lost quite a lot of what do you call it? I guess you could call it a following. A lot of people really thought, like, wow, that's just so much that they sued them for. And it was over basically their devices being too similar to Apple's, which I think is definitely arguable, and that was really crazy, in my opinion. I mean, just the way that their smartphones look and things like that, and the tablets, I think that was a pretty crazy thing to do. But that's my own personal opinion. I think some things that are more universally agreeable is the other things that Apple has tried to patent. They tried to go and patent rounded corners on tablets. They tried to patent that for the iPad, and that was, I think people just went like, this is insane. This is completely ridiculous, and it was, because that's just so stupid to do that. They ended up actually not being able to follow through with this because the judge that was working with them on the case said, this is stupid, you can't patent something like this, you can't do this, just no. Basically is how that went down. But they're not done yet. They're still going after more things. Another thing that I know that they're trying to do is patent lists. Yes, lists. Like, for your email, for example, on Android, they want to make it so that you can't look at that like a list, which I think is another thing. It's just like, really? That's insane. And I think for those of you who may not have known about that, maybe it's an eye-opener, but I think a lot of people do know about this. Anyways, that's a really big thing, and that's a pretty big reason that other companies really aren't happy with Apple right now. And primarily just the other big companies, nobody wants to work with Apple because part of the problem with them is they ask other companies for help, and then they go and sue them for something they created because they just want to eliminate the market. Another example of this is the wedged shape laptop. And Apple wasn't the first one to do this by any means. I've seen like computers from the 80s that had this basic, wedge-shaped design where you just have different components, the bigger components of the computer in the back and the smaller ones to the front, so you can get sort of a thinner look. And it's a smart idea, but it shouldn't be patented. It should be able to be used by everyone because that helps everyone, and it allows for more, it just helps the market, would be really the simplest way of saying it. It's just not good to say that, only this company can work with that technology, because the more minds you have working on something, the better it is. And not to mention, with Apple, of course, you have the Mac OS X, and you don't have Windows. So, I mean, that's a pretty obvious point, but yeah, I mean, really, when you water it down, just patenting something like that is completely stupid. That's a big thing, and I think something that Apple either is willing to bet some money on, or that they're just not really thinking about, is the amount of patents that other companies have on things, because a lot of companies make patents for big things that they make, but they don't really go around enforcing them and making sure that no one else uses them. So people could start playing really dirty and really just wiping companies off the charts, just taking a bunch of money away from them from all the patents if they really wanted to, which wasn't even people weren't even thinking about this for the most part until Apple went and started suing over just these stupid lawsuits. So that's a pretty huge thing. And if you didn't already dislike Apple, I think that's probably be a good reason. Another thing I want to talk about, just from a purely user practicality standpoint, is their operating systems. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the Mac, like OS X, because I'm actually running a pretty old version. Let me check. I actually am recording this on my Mac, for those of you who didn't already know about that. Let me check exactly what version, just so I can tell you and be certain. But I'm not running Snow Leopard or anything like that, or Mountain Lion. It's an old version, and it's actually being pretty slow right now, and I can't see exactly where we're at. Okay, I can't pull it up right now, but anyways, point is, I haven't played around with Mountain Lion or Snow Leopard or anything like that, so it's not really fair for me to talk about that too much. But I will talk about the iPad and iPhone, iPod Touch OS 5, because I think that's a pretty big thing. A lot of people use that in some way. I'd say a majority of people have either an iPod Touch, an iPhone, or an iPad, and from that standpoint, I think that they also need to work on that as well, because it's a very, very simple user interface. And simple is good. You know, people want things that aren't, you know, crazy hard to figure out, things that just sort of work and that are not complicated. But it's always good to have extra features that you can access when you want them. I think, without even trying to explain this in any other way, jailbreaking. Jailbreaking is something that a lot of people do because of this very reason. People they aren't completely satisfied with the iOS that Apple's supplying them with. So they go out and they get Cydia and they get other apps and add things to their iPod or iPhone or iPod Touch. Or iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, it's, you know, whatever. But, you know, they get things and they add them because they want to have them. For the most part, people don't jailbreak their iPod and stuff like that because they want to just steal like hundreds of dollars worth of apps. A lot of people do it because of little small reasons, things that they'd like to fix, things that like to change, things they want to customize, things like that, because you can't really do that very much. And I think if Apple were to either stop being so hands-on with making sure nobody jailbroke their devices, and like with all the software updates and things like that, if they either just stopped caring about that so much, or they maybe partnered up with a company that allowed you to do similar things to this, or they even just did this on their own, I think they would be a lot more successful, and a lot more people would be flocking towards them, because you have this beautiful these beautiful feats of design, this simplicity that is Apple, but also with the complexity and functionality of other devices or other companies such as Android. And I mean the operating system of Android and Windows, things like that. I think that would be a pretty big step forward for Apple. Those are two things I'm going to bring up in this video. I could talk about this for a lot longer, but I'm going to keep this shorter. You guys can tell me what you think about this. Like I said, I'm going to be making more videos on more reasons that I think that Apple has problems. But with that said, I'm Asa Klubskid, and I'll see you later. Bye.